Hello,
I'm Karena.
and I'm Jamie.
Welcome to As Told by ADHD. This podcast is the brainchild of two best friends with ADHD who share a passion for learning and a knack for finding the most fascinating tidbits of knowledge.
Each week, we embark on a wild and hilarious journey of discovery as we dive headfirst into topics that pique our curiosity. From dark folklore to bizarre statistics, cultural ceremonies to famous dead people, we're here to entertain, educate, and tickle your funny bone.
This week on As Told by ADHD, we're going to be talking about some famous phrases. What does that mean? Well, all the things that you know, love, laugh at, and repeat endlessly.
Yeah. Perfect. Love that. What an intro.
Thanks.
Think about phrases that are really memed. I don't want to do it. 6, 7.
Oh.
I hate it. I hate it. Where did that come from? Some song, I guess.
I don't know.
And
I just know
then-
that my 7-year-old still does it, and it's been like a year. So
I know. It's still everywhere. Think about phrases that you've heard growing up. One phrase I heard growing up a lot was, the devil's beating his wife. What does that mean? Well, it means it is raining while the sun is shining. Don't know why. I didn't look that one up. Maybe next time.
maybe, but it's that one's very southern. That one's a very southern.
That one is
That's
very
a very southern thing.
Mhm.
And then something my mom, and I have no idea if it's something that's widely known, but I was really scared of thunder, and she would tell me that God was just bowling with the angels. So stuff like that, stuff that you just
Stuff
kind
like
of
that.
know, say,
Mhm.
can relate to, respond to
another
a friend with,
Mm-hmm. Another one that I know your mom did was bread and butter or something. I never heard that one.
that's her jinx. Yeah, she's like,
Yeah.
if you're walking together and there's an obstacle in the middle, if you're walking together and you guys walk on either side of that obstacle, it's bad luck. So you have to say bread and butter. Have to. You have
I've
to.
never heard that.
That's just it's a Marguerite thing right there.
Okay, so we're not going to do a dice roll today because I overdid it again. So I have about 8 phrases that we can cover today. How many do you have?
I have 5.
Yeah, so I'm going to go first. And then
Probably
we'll just see how it goes
second,
from there.
and maybe
And maybe I'll go 3rd and 4th and 5th. It's fine. We're gonna have a good time here. Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Let's get it.
So my first one, we've all heard the saying to turn a blind eye. You usually hear this in instances where something possibly nefarious is happening, and you're kind of for it a little bit, so you turn a blind eye because you're I don't need to know that's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I take it.
And that is such a weird phrase, too.
Well, let me tell you where it comes from. We're in the Napoleonic Wars in early 1800s. Okay? So, Britain was fighting in the Napoleonic Wars against Napoleon and his allies. And Britain was desperately trying to break up an alliance of the northern powers that France actually had under their wing at the time.
Okay.
Britain dispatched a Royal Navy fleet. And the captain of this fleet, his name was Admiral Sir Hyde Parker. And he was on the ship, His Majesty's ship London. And his second in command was Vice Admiral Horatio Lord Nelson. And he was on His Majesty's ship Elephant. Something to know about Vice Admiral Horatio. He was not a cautious man. He was not a cautious commander.
Okay.
He also was missing an eye.
So he's a pirate.
Basically, yeah. I imagine he has an eye patch. I don't know if he did, but I imagine he does. So, In the Battle of Copenhagen on April 2nd, 1801, they were fighting a Danish fleet.
Okay.
And the battle was brutal and bloody, and it was just all kinds of bad.
Okay.
So Admiral Parker is like, we got to get out of here. We're not going to survive this if we keep going. Well, Vice Admiral Nelson, who is missing an eye, is like, nah, I'm good. He turns to one of his men and he's like, I have only one eye. I have the right to be blind sometimes. And he puts a spyglass up to his blind eye and looks at the admiral, and he's like, I really don't see the signal. So he didn't pull back. He went forward full steam ahead, even though it's not steam, it's like wooden ships, like pirate ships. And they took Britain to victory in that battle. Thanks to the courageous and a little, what's the word I'm looking
Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
Yeah. Vice Admiral Nelson. So,
All thanks to this psychopath who really likes war, and he's just all about, he's the adrenaline junkies before adrenaline junkies were cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that is such a fun story. I really love this guy because I love how sassy he is. He's like, I don't see anything at all.
Where? Just close eyes. Where? Where is it?
Yeah.
I don't see a signal. That means we have to keep fighting.
So the next time that you hear someone say turn a blind eye, or you feel the urge to say turn a blind eye, I hope you remember this story. And remember how sassy the origin is.
It really is sassy. I like that.
I like it
love
a lot.
A sassy guy. So, last semester when I was in college, I had to write a final paper on Rene Descartes, who is a philosopher, very famous philosopher, right? And he decided that he wanted to try something that no philosopher has tried before, right? We are in the 1600s. We have Rene Descartes sitting alone in his study, in his chair, and he's journaling, right? He decided that he wanted to doubt everything he knows, down to the, how do I know to move my fingers? How do I know I want to grab a cup to drink something?
This sounds like an existential crisis.
That's why it's so relatable.
Been there once or twice.
Or 5. But he is trying to figure out what, if anything, is actually certain in a world where people can be wrong about almost everything, right? Because a big thing is perception. So, at the time, knowledge being like the tiers of knowledge, it was still kind of questionable. Like, what is knowledge, right? Science isn't fully established yet. Religion dominates everything, right, around this time. And people often would accept things as true just because they were just told so by their pastors, by the leaders, by the man of the house, like whatever. Descartes, being the philosopher that he is, did not think like that. So he decides to do what I said earlier and doubt everything. He questions his senses. What's misleading about them? He questions reality. What if everything he sees is some type of illusion? He even considers the idea that there could be some powerful force tricking him into believing things aren't real. Like believing things that aren't real, sorry. And one by one, he tries to strip away all assumption, right? Because our brains just try to naturally, figure out things. Eventually, he's left with almost nothing. No certainty about the world, no certainty about his body, no certainty about anything outside his own mind. It is basically the intellectual version of standing in total darkness with nothing to grab onto. Just completely disorienting himself.
Okay.
Then he notices something. Even if everything else is false, even if he is being deceived, even if the world isn't real, he is still thinking. And if he's thinking, there must be something doing the thinking. And the realization becomes the breakthrough and the famous phrase, I think, therefore I am.
Interesting.
Phrase.
I always thought it was like a manifestation thing.
No. I mean, that's how it's seen now. It's used in a
Okay.
bunch of different ways, but yeah, it is used in manifesting as well. But it's kind of that phrase was the anchor that he could, I guess, grab onto that was actual inescapable reality.
Okay.
Right? He isn't saying that thinking is cool or I exist because I have thoughts, like in like a casual way. He's saying that the very act of doubting proves that he exists, as thinking is a thing. You can't
Okay.
doubt your existence without proving it. You can't, like, you have to think about, you have to think about all of these things. So that idea becomes the foundation. That I think before I am becomes a foundation of philosophy itself. Instead of starting with the world and trying to understand it, Descartes starts with the self and the consciousness and then builds outward from there. And that shifts the focus of philosophy from then on, like, completely. But I related to this phrase when reading his journal entries. This man literally is like just like us, but just leans a little bit into it more. Like, I don't know how many times I have sat and looked at a corner of my room, focusing on the reality of that corner of the room. Like, realizing that you are like an actual living being, because we just are so used to like daily routine and like going and blah, blah, blah. Actually sitting there and realizing that you are a actual human being living inside of a moment. Like, you have fingers, you have toes, like watching this stuff, like actually like really paying attention to it, it kind of blows your mind a little bit. And then you just move on to your like daily routine again. And like the day is gone and like whatever,
I think there's a German word for that. For like that feeling of like being aware of your existence.
But yeah, that was my first saying. So I honestly think, I mean,
Therefore
obviously, I think therefore I am is used very loosely in modern times, but it's kind of like a more joking way. Like, you just kind of, then like actually like saying, I'm saying this because I'm applying that to my life. Like, question everything and like, stuff like that. So the fact that he's kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs made me like him a lot more when I was writing that paper. So.
Okay, my next one.
Okay.
I know you've heard this phrase because there was a TV show named after this phrase. Saved by the Bell. And that's the first thing I thought of when I was researching this. I was like, Saved by the Bell, love that TV show. When you think of Saved by the Bell, where would you think the origin comes from?
I was thinking like school, like a school setting for sure, but that's not because of Saved by the Bell. That's just because we had the bell systems.
Incorrect. So there's a couple of different theories of where this came from, but I think we know where it comes from, and I'll do that one last. But the first one that people think of is back in the 1800s. It was a huge fear for majority of people, especially in like England, to be buried alive. So they started putting bells attached to corpses.
Okay, I remember that.
So they put bells attached like on top of a grave. They would have a string attached to the corpse. What they didn't account for was the bloating. So bells would be going off constantly, and people would be digging up corpses constantly because when you die, you bloat. And when you bloat, you move. And if it's tied around your hand and your hand starts to bloat, it's going to start ringing.
Oh.
So people assumed that's where it came from because there could be people saved by the bell. The data that I found is like it only saved a handful of people, if that. So where we actually think it comes from is also in the 1800s, boxing. Boxing starts to get big. There's boxing rings. There's people who are, I guess, betting. I don't know, boxing. I'm not a sports person. I've never been a sports person.
That's fair.
Boxing has 3-minute rounds. After 3 minutes, a bell rings and it tells the boxers, stop what you're doing. The round's over, right? If someone gets knocked out, the referee starts a 10-second count. If the boxer gets up before the 10-second count, the round keeps going. If the boxer doesn't get up, the round's over, they've lost. Right?
Okay.
Okay, so that's boxing, right?
Boxing.
You didn't know you'd get a sports lesson today. Saved by the Bell actually comes from, let's say, we're at the end of a round almost. There's 5 seconds left in the round. And one of the boxers knocks the other one out, right? The ref starts the 10-second count, but the bell rings before the 10-second count ends. That round is not, because he was knocked out, is irrelevant. So he was saved by the bell because he didn't lose that round because the bell rang before the 10 seconds was up. So it's not a TV show. It is a TV show, but it's not from the TV show. It's not Bells Above Graves, which there's still some Bells Above Graves in England in some places. Anyway, it is boxing. So Saved by the Bell.
I would have never assumed boxing.
Me neither. I had no clue. I was like, wow, that's crazy. Okay, my next one. I know you've heard this before. You feeling a little bit under the weather? What does that mean? How did we get there? Why are we under the weather?
I never thought about that.
Aren't we always under the weather? What does that mean? Okay, let me tell you what it means.
I love the intros.
Back to the high seas.
We're pirates again.
I mean, it could be pirates and stuff. Okay, so apparently there is a deck on a ship that is referred to as the weather deck. It's referred to as the weather deck because it's like the deck that sees the most weather. It gets rained on, stormed on. You get it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems that this can be traced all the way back to the 1500s. And let's just say you are a sailor in the 16th to 18th century, right? You're sick, you're hungover, you're seasick, any type of illness, right? You would be sent below deck, or you would just go below deck and you would rest because you're sick, obviously. Then maybe somebody asks where you are. People would say, he's under the weather, or she's under the weather, because they went under the weather deck. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And it started as under the weather bow or under the weather rail, but eventually it was shortened to under the weather.
Wow.
So that's where
I would
it
have
comes from.
never.
I know.
Actually, knowing our personalities, right?
Mhm.
It is actually really shocking that we don't already know this.
I know.
I'm actually low-key disappointed in us. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I see, the thing is, I have ADHD. You do too, right? So I'm going to give us a little grace on this. I think the reason we don't know this is because we're like, oh, I want to know what that means, but then we forget to look it up. Because that's what happened to me. This just gave me a reason. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Anyway.
usually the case with me too. Okay, well, my next one, I guess I'll just start off the bat. The phrase, actions speak louder than words.
I think that's self-explanatory.
You would assume so. But where did it come from? That's the question, right?
Someone said it once.
Exactly. But who?
Is it someone famous? Do I guess?
No, it's not someone famous.
Oh, then how would I know?
Well, that's the thing. How did it become such a thing if it didn't come from like a famous speech, a famous movie, or like something that is just so casually like said around like under the weather, like being code like, hey, this person's sick under here. Like, how did it become popular? Right?
People said it?
Well, like, how did they hear it enough to be like, I want to apply this to this conversation? And then they take that phrase and they apply it to that conversation and like stuff like that. So I didn't know this, but this phrase actually is considered a proverb.
Okay.
Not a biblical proverb, though.
Yeah, proverbs can come from anywhere.
Yeah. So I just, a lot of people don't really like know that. They hear proverb and they're just like Bible, right? Proverb. Proverb is actually a Latin word. It comes from the word proverbum, okay? Pro meaning forward or public, and verbum meaning word. So public word.
Okay.
The earliest form or the earliest recording appears around 1658 in a collection of English proverbs by John Pym. Allegedly. This is debatable because people are just like, no, it didn't come from something that he've written, blah, blah, right? It's debatable, but that's the earliest, like, finding of it, okay? Apparently, the original phrase was actions are more significant than words, which is similar. But writers like Aesop and later moralists emphasized that behavior is over speech, and they would say it in their teachings and stuff like that. By the 18th or 19th century, the exact modern wording of the phrase became super common in English culture. So it was in...
Comlish. Sorry.
Comlish? Did I say comlish?
You said comlish, but you corrected yourself.
Okay.
Comlish.
So it was in a book, in journal, in writings and stuff like that. And then philosophers were just like, you know what? I like the way this sounds. Moralists, I really like the way this sounds because I can use it in a way that like clicks with people and like really get my point across. Now, was it used for good all the time? Probably not. But they took it and they ran with it because it's just like, you know what? That's so true, which is why we say a lot of phrases because it can apply to like your real life or whatever. The meaning obviously is very intuitive, but it's because like how they would phrase it is because words can be exaggerated, they can be dishonest, full of empty promises, whatever, right? But your actions show intent, character, and truth. So the reason it stuck around or sticks around is because it applies to every situation. All types of relationships need a foundation, and that foundation usually revolves around dependency, trust, and reliability. So relationships, friendships, work acquaintances, leadership positions, even ethics, character, it can be defined if you're literally a good person or not. Like, that's why it came from like just one person's like scribbling to like mass, because it could be used and almost twisted in any direction that you want it to go. So that begs the question, is this phrase like a use for good or for evil? What do you think?
I think it's going to have to depend on the person who's hearing it. Because in my opinion, it's a phrase of good. Because like it is... One, it's kind of a moral compass for me, being like, I want to show people that I have good intentions rather than talk my way out of a situation, you know, or rather than talk myself up. But it also is kind of like a compass of like, oh, that person behaves badly but tells me that they're good. So to me, it's a good. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think that it's very dependable on the person too. I definitely think that it can be used for evil just because it can be used as like a manipulation tactic too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's a very, very, what is it? Double-edged sword?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I know that was like super quick, but like I had to throw that in there because it can be up for debate. This phrase.
Yeah, I think anything could be used for good or evil, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about my next one. No, long time no see. Grammatically incorrect. But we say it all the time. I know I've said it several times. People have said it to me several times. It's just like kind of a greeting at this point if
No,
you
it
haven't seen
is.
somebody in a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Long time no see. Where did it come from? Especially if you think about history, I feel like a lot of history focuses on writing down the correct, grammatically correct way of saying things.
Yeah.
So how did this happen? Okay. There's two possible answers to this question. So, the first possibility is a book called 31 Years on the Plains and in the Mountains, which the title's way longer than that, but that's just like what it's kind of known by. And it's by a man named Captain William Captain. I don't know why he's captain. Let's just call him Captain William. You can look it up if you want to. In this book, it's presented as a first-hand memoir of frontier life. I don't know if it's actually a memoir or if it's like a fictional memoir. I couldn't tell you. But it's presented as if it is a first-hand memoir of frontier life. And the book recounts an interaction that he had with a Native American man. And in the book, it says, I knew he had recognized me. When we rode up, he said, "Good morning. Long time. No see you." And at that time, he presented the gun with the breech foremost, meaning he was holding the barrel and handing him the gun to him grab the handle, right? So that's one way. The one that seemed to be more popular in like where it came from is it ended up being a literal translation from Mandarin Chinese, because that's how they greeted in Mandarin Chinese. They would say "Hao Jiu Bu Jian," I think is how you pronounce that, which literally means long time no see, which like that to me makes more sense.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've ever taken a foreign language or you've tried to learn a foreign language. One of my favorite things to do is literally translate things. Because, like, when I was taking French and when I took Spanish, I would literally translate things and I would have a good time. But it also helped me learn what words mean. Anyway. But they believe that it spread through the British Navy in the 1900s. And it ended up becoming part of like English vernacular because they would try to communicate with each other even though they didn't have a common language. So they would say long time no see.
No, and that makes the most sense too, I believe, is like a direct translation. I think that makes the most logical sense of like how this became like what it was, because I don't think that the phrase would have stuck around that long if it wasn't like, I don't want to say something significant because it's like a direct translation, but like also, I don't know. It just has to make sense. And I feel like the long time no see is just something that makes sense to say. Yeah.
Right. I also think that with the first-hand memoir, not a ton of people are going to read that, but there's a lot of people in the Navy, in the British Navy, and they're interacting with these people who are speaking Mandarin Chinese, and they're picking up on each other's vernacular, right? And when you greet someone, I feel like in this setting, if they're allies, they're going to be like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's going to be a positive thing, so it's going to stick in your memory more. And then you might take that back to your homeland, you know? So I think that makes more sense to me, personally.
Okay, so my next one is something we all know and we all laugh at, and it makes me happy to say it, and that is, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. Well, that's too damn bad.
God, I love that
Iconic.
movie.
It's
Iconic.
iconic. Okay. So,
Love
a
that
lot of
movie.
people say this. A lot of people also don't read books recreationally, so they don't know how old this phrase really is. Okay? So, in a book that I love called Holes by Louis Sakar, the original phrase in the book was a very calm interaction. Stanley says, I'm tired of digging holes. You know, it's just a very calm interaction.
It wasn't the lady. Oh my God.
But in the movie, they exaggerated so significantly,
As they should have.
thus it becoming the famous phrase we know and love today. And it's famous because it's so relatable and obviously really, really funny. And do you know when that book was written, when Holes was written?
Was it like late 1800s?
No.
Before that?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay,
No, the
early
book was
1900s?
written. The book was written. Holes was written in 1998.
Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was a lot
Mm-mm.
older.
But it's a 28-year-old book. The movie
Okay.
came out in 2003. That's 23 years ago. That means this iconic phrase is 23 years old and counting because it never needs to go away. I personally wouldn't mind it living forever because it's funny. And Holes is literally one of my all-time favorite books. I read it like every year in elementary school. Every single year. It was so good. Perfect read. Everybody needs to read it. Even if you don't read recreationally, please read it. It's so good. So good.
My next one. I know you've heard this. Everybody's heard this saying, but I've never understood it. Like, why do we say that? It's so weird. When you butter someone up, you're trying to get on their good side, right? Why? Why are we buttering things?
Why are you buttering? Why is it buttery?
Are we putting butter on people? Weird.
That
Don't
is
put
weird.
butter on people unless they ask for it. Don't worry about it.
Because it's like a remedy to like get like rings off or something that's like stuck on your fingers or your hands or your wrist or something. Yeah.
Okay. If you were to Google this, you would find some pretty strange answers. You would find that there was an ancient Indian people who would throw balls of ghee, which was clarified butter, at statues of their gods and goddesses for good fortune. However, this is not fully true. So the idea of throwing anything at a statue of a deity that you hold in high regard, it didn't really sit right with me. So I was like, why would you throw something at something that you hold in such high regard? So I looked into it further, and that's not quite what happened. So let's start with like where this rumor might have come from. So butter, specifically ghee, was something that is very, very sacred in Hinduism. And there's a practice called Gruta Divas. I think that's how you pronounce it. It is a Hindu ritual where an object or idol is covered in ghee, clarified butter, to purify and bless it before it is used for worship. So it's basically like holy water, but it's butter.
Okay.
So that is where, like, nobody threw anything. Like, I couldn't find anything in this practice that people were throwing butter at deities. This could be the origin of where it came from. I also read a couple others that didn't make a ton of sense. Like, the original definition of butter was meant to manipulate, which, like, I don't think that's true, because I only found it in, like, one source, so I can't say for certain that that's what that is.
Right.
And as far as we know, it could just be a phrase that just stuck. You know how, like, Gen Z these days are saying, like, ate and left no crumbs, and, like, you're the birthday, and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, when somebody does something amazing, you're like, let them cook. You know, like,
Right.
it could just be that. But it also could be the Hindu tradition of, I can't pronounce that word. And somehow over time it got twisted into throwing butter at deities, which I don't think, I could not find any evidence that any religion threw anything at deities. Anyway.
I think that having the positive association with food that a lot of majority people have, I think that is a better option, because when you think of food, you think of happy.
Yeah.
At least for everybody I know, food association. It's happiness, or it releases dopamine, serotonin, like blah blah.
Yeah.
But I think also that there's some really odd traditions out there, and it couldn't have been the Indian community or the culture as a whole. It could have definitely been, like, very targeted towards, like, a specific group of peoples where the history was kind of lost, maybe, but I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, the practice that I mentioned is still used in Hinduism today. So they just don't throw it. I don't know where they're throwing. Like, I looked far and wide. I couldn't figure out who came up with throwing butter. Anyway. But they would, like, bathe the little statues in butter and then worship it. So, like,
Gotcha.
that's kind of like being like, I'm going to give you a little butter bath, and then I'm going to put you up, and I'm going to be like, please give me things. So that could be, that makes sense.
Was like a way of preserving the statues. Like, maybe they thought it was like
Maybe.
a way of, like, yeah.
Kind of like how, like, in Japan, there's, like, teacups that you have to keep using or it'll disintegrate.
Mm-hmm.
Could be like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So this one's kind of crazy.
I like crazy.
So, what if I told you I let the cat out of the bag?
I remember that one.
What do you think I mean by that? Like, what do you think that means?
You told the truth on something. You're coming clean.
Okay.
Or something came clean, regardless of if you wanted it to or
okay.
not.
So, there's another. So, this saying also has two possible roots.
Okay.
I'm more inclined to think the second one, but I'm going to just tell you the first one just because I found it in multiple places. So, the first one has nautical roots back to the high seas. We're pirates today. So there was a whip called the Cat of Nine Tails. So it was like a leather whip that had like 9 leather tendrils on it. You get it. And it was used as punishment in the British Royal Navy in the 17th century. So when you would let the cat out of the bag, you've done something that you shouldn't have done, and now you're getting punished for it. So that's, even though that's not what it means today, that's one possible place where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, I fully believe this is exactly where it came from, because in medieval times, there would be a market, and you would go and you'd buy stuff, and you'd buy livestock. It's basically a farmer's market, right? You'd go buy livestock, you'd go buy honestly anything. But there was a scam. These con artists, they would try to scam you. So they'd have these little piglets, and they'd be like, look at these little piglets. Aren't they so stinking cute? And also, like, they're really good livestock, and you should buy them. So the person would be like, yeah, I need pigs. I'm gonna reach in my pocket, not look at you, and get my money. So they would be like counting their money, all the while, the bag is put down and the different one's picked up that's closed, and it had cats in it. And most of the people who would buy these pigs wouldn't check the bag until they got home. So once they got home, they'd open the bag, the cat would come out of the bag, and the truth is revealed.
They're bamboozled.
They're bamboozled.
Dude, how can you not? Like, you not hear meowing or anything? Like, what the heck?
I mean, they might have had just, like, they might have sedated him or something. I don't know. Apparently this happened a lot in the medieval times, to the point where it became not, like, common knowledge to not turn your back on people selling livestock when you're buying it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of crazy.
I know.
I like the con artist story, though. That's wild.
Yeah, that is wild.
I love it. I love it when we learn something like this. And Jamie's really good at finding stuff like this. Like, I'm being so for real. She's like a crazy magnet, but for history. History. So she literally can just find it. I don't know. She just stumbles upon it and we roll with it, and it's a great time. So anyways, my next one is probably one of the most iconic memes ever created. Right?
Okay.
And that's Kermit the Frog saying, "Well, that's none of my business."
Okay.
And sipping a glass of tea, right? That's where we get
I don't know.
tea. Okay. That's where we
God.
get it from, because we're just like, ooh, right? In 2014, Kermit the Frog, okay, appears in a Lipton tea commercial. It's nothing special at the time, just a simple shot of him sipping some tea, right? No punchline, not a big joke or anything. It was just an image like, hey, we got Kermit the Frog to taste our tea,
Honestly,
right?
I forgot that happened. Like, you opened a memory for me just now, because, like, I thought that was a doctored image, but it's not. It was literally
It's
a
an
Lipton tea commercial, and now
advertisement.
And I remember, like, I know where I was when I watched it.
Mm-hmm. And the way that Kermit the Frog is positioned, because obviously he's turned to the side and he's drinking. He's not, like, looking at you, be like, Lipton tea. He's just kind of like, right? Right? So,
Yeah.
he's just relaxed, almost like he's watching something unfold, or quietly forming an opinion about something. Somewhere on the internet, likely to be like Tumblr or even possibly early Twitter, someone takes that image and adds a caption. And structured it, obviously, in a very specific way. Paints out something shady or hypocritical, like little, like, ooh. And the caption was, "But that's none of my business." And the image and the phrase together created this tone that didn't have, like, a clean cut meaning behind it, obviously. So it's pretty much something between calling something out while pretending you're staying out of it. And once people saw it, they immediately understood. They could apply it to, like, everything. It's so easy to adapt. By 2015, it's literally everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. People start using it for relationships, politics, workplace drama, random opinions, observations, like whatever. And the formatting has stayed completely the same. It's one of those things where the image or the caption on the image, like you have the grumpy cat, right? The picture of the grumpy cat, but they'll change the caption on it, right? The only thing that they would change on the Lipton tea Kermit commercial still shot is, like, maybe putting the scenario up at the top, but then the original quote was always the same, but that's none of my business. It's like, I saw you last night with out with a girl that was not my best friend, but that's none of my business, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's so good. But
It is a good one.
you just need to say, like, you literally, well, it went from Kermit the Frog, obviously, slipping on tea, to us being like, okay, spill the tea, give me the tea, and stuff like that. That's where all of that came from. Tea, give me the tea, spill the tea, sipping the tea is hot. All of that came from Kermit the Frog and Lipton tea. All of it. All of it. But that's none of my
Gotta
business.
love Kermit.
So.
It's so
But
good.
that's none of our business.
Okay, you know what else is really sassy? When you give somebody the cold shoulder.
That is super sassy.
And you know where it came from?
Where?
You'll never guess. I was shocked. It's one of the most passive-aggressive things I've ever heard in my life, and it's kind of petty, and I'm kind of here for it a little bit, but I would never do it, but, like, I'd get it.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay. In medieval times, if someone was not welcome but was at your house anyway, you wouldn't tell them directly. No, you would not tell them. You would show them. You want to know how you'd show them? So, for guests that you want around, you would serve a hot, fresh meal. But for guests you didn't want, you would serve cold mutton shoulder.
Oh, are you serious?
Mm-hmm. You would literally give them cold shoulder. Literally.
What?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy.
Most historians and linguists think this is actually a myth.
I wouldn't put it past them. Not for 1 second.
Nobles in medieval times, they got so much time on their hands. They're going to do stuff like this. So, we do know that it was popularized by a Scottish author named Sir Walter Scott. And the first recorded literary use appeared to be in one of his novels, The Antiquary, in 1816. And the character would, where the characters would literally show or tip a cold shoulder for aloofness.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, but I really, really genuinely loved the actually serving cold mutton shoulder. Because I did
fully believe this. Fully believe it.
I fully believe it too. But, like, we also have no proof, and most historians and linguists think it is a myth. I like to believe it.
Somebody has done this. I don't care if it's like a myth or something, or if they just heard the story from like blah, blah, blah. Somebody's done this before. Somebody. There's somebody out there who has literally given a cold shoulder as a meal. You cannot prove me. No. No. So
You have one more?
I do have one more. And we're going to talk about Miss Oprah Winfrey and her iconic phrase, "You get a car! You get a car! You get a car! You get a car! You get a car!" Oprah. She is in the absolute peak of her influence, okay? This is early 2000s. And the Oprah Winfrey Show is like taking on this like identity as like a cultural powerhouse, right? When Oprah recommends something, it sells out. When she highlights a story, the whole country starts talking about it. Her audience trusts her completely.
She starts a book club. Everybody joins.
Everybody, yeah. And like she does it all. She goes on a weight loss journey. Everybody's following her, right? So, because she was like on Weight Watchers or something like that. I can't remember which one. But anyways, September 13th, 2004, she was doing her episode, and the setup around it is a little bit more special, okay? The audience is filled with people that actually really need help. They are not doing good financially. They are dealing with family struggles, maybe health concerns, just something. They're just not doing well. Majority of them are unable to afford reliable transportation. So she has like a very certain demographic. Oprah brings up the idea of giving away cars, but at first it doesn't really like seem real, right? She plays it like just very casually, right? And then at one point she gives a single audience member a set of keys. That's a huge moment, right? This lady who's just like been struggling, she gets like a brand new car, right? The crowd is excited for her. They're like getting really emotional and they're loud, but Oprah like keeps going. She literally starts pointing to everybody in the audience saying, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. And every time she says it, the energy in the room just goes crazy. People are just screaming, they're crying, they're jumping. They're like, it's like a full Southern church up in here, y'all, okay? Like, people are
that's
fainting.
life-changing.
Like, I mean, it is, but the reason it is so famous, there's about 276 people, and they all got brand new Pontiac G6s, all of them. So it was like, it went from her being like really generous towards this like certain group of people, it becomes like a full like spectacle. But it becomes one of the most iconic scenes in television history, literally instantly, because it was like a performance, but it was like a performance of like such grand, I hate to use the word charity, but like charity, right? Like you're actually seeing the people, instead of like giving your money to this one individual who says that they're going to give this money to help blah blah blah, you actually have these people in front of you and are actively giving it to them. Not like a certificate for a car or anything like that. You're handing out keys, you know? The reason like it's become, I guess, more applied in like a more funny sense to where it's like a phrase that we still kind of say now is like, if I have, let's say, last time I actually remember hearing it was in school when they were giving out like Valentine's Day, like the little card things. And they were just like, you get one, and you get one, and you get one, and you get one. But like people like use it when they're like handing things out. So they're just, yeah. So if I was giving something to like Jamie and a couple of our like mutual friends, you'd be like, you get a mug, and you get a mug, and you get a mug, you know? And we're just
You know the way to my heart.
Yeah.
I love fun mugs.
But yeah, that was my last one. And I think that one literally came to my brain when I thought of this topic, because I remember that. I remember that so clearly. But yeah, I want a car. I'm poor. I'm richer in life than a lot of other people, and I'm very grateful. But I'm also really not rich at the same time. But I can live, and that is what's important. So
you know what they say. You can't have your cake and eat it too, which is my next one.
The transition is glorious.
Thank you.
This was brilliant.
Thank you. Okay, so what does that even mean? This has always frustrated me. I was like, why can't you have cake and eat it? Like, why can't you have cake and why can't you eat it? Like, why can't you do both?
She's like, because I have cake and I eat it. Like,
don't you have to have cake to eat it? Like, that makes no sense. Like, what do you mean? Anyway, so I did some research and I figured out the answer.
Okay.
So, when somebody says you can't have your cake and eat it too, what do you assume they mean?
They're like, you can't have it all. You just can't have it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
So, we first see this appear in the 1500s. A man named Thomas Howard, the 3rd Duke of Norfolk, he writes a letter to someone, and he writes this in the letter: a man cannot have his cake and eat his cake.
Okay.
And I was like, why? What does it mean? Like, why? Like, you can't eat cake if you don't have cake. That makes no sense.
Right.
When I tell you, I have literally been like, for the past all my life, I haven't looked it up because I've just been so frustrated with it. But like, it has been bothering me forever. But I figured it out. Because in this time period, have didn't mean to consume. Have meant to possess. So basically what this means is you cannot keep ownership. You cannot keep possession of the cake and eat it. And then this led me down a whole other rabbit hole of like, well, when is cake no longer cake?
When it hits your bowels.
So like when you chew the cake, is it still cake? Probably. When you swallow it, is it still cake? Maybe. It hits your stomach acid, there's no way it's still cake, right?
Right.
So you can't keep possession of the cake if you're eating it, because then it's no longer cake. So that's what I think it means. So that's where I ended up. But like, you can't have possession of the cake and eat the cake and keep the possession of the cake.
That is so confusing. I'm so sorry.
No, it is confusing.
My brain is not wanting to hold on to that. Like, what?
But it's only confusing because have now has a bunch of different, because like you can have a piece of pizza, right? You can have like meaning to eat. Like you can eat a piece of pizza. You can eat a taco. You can eat pasta. You can have all of those, right? For dinner. But that's not what have meant back then. Have only meant to possess. So you can't possess the cake and eat it.
I get it.
Because then it's not cake anymore. You don't have the cake anymore because it's gone. Right?
True.
Okay. We figured out the puzzle. I'm still mad about it because I don't like this phrase.
I don't like it either. I don't think I've ever used it.
I've never used it seriously. If I've ever said it, it's been a joke.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I don't think I've ever, like, nobody's ever told me that either because, like, I guess...
Oh, I've been told that. I'm pretty sure my mom has said that to me a couple times. And I'm like, what does that mean? Why?
Fair.
Like, you need to, like, have a cake to eat it. If you don't have a cake, you can't eat it.
I wonder if
Anyway.
if you guys feel comfortable, share some experiences of people using that phrase on you and tell us like how you interpreted it, how you like maybe even combated it, you know.
Also, like, how do we know that that's what it means? You know what I mean? Like I can't remember a time where I didn't know that it means you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever remember not knowing what that meant. So like, how do we know? Like how do I'm crashing out. Okay. we can move on. I'm gonna keep crashing out if I keep talking about this. That was my last one.
Yeah, I don't have any more either. But yeah, let us know if you guys also have some phrases that you've either grown up with or that we didn't talk about that like literally just makes your head do what's happening to Jamie currently. And let's debate
my
it.
mind's
Let's
still
talk
racing.
about it. Yeah, let's talk about it in the comments. Let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Tell us about all your fun things. Also, listen, I'm still crashing out in my head. I'm trying to play it cool. Okay, but like, tell us what you're gonna do nice for yourself this week, because
Please.
Because I need some advice, honestly, because I can't think past this saying.
You know what? Go buy a cake, possess it for a little bit, and then eat it, Jamie, because you deserve it.
I do. You know what? I am gonna do that. What are you gonna do nice for yourself?
My fiance is home, so I'm gonna go hang out with him because it's really fun. It's really, really fun.
Nice. Also, can we talk about how you have a best friend necklace that has my initial on it? And there's no other reason other than
There's
that.
no other reason whatsoever. This is Jamie's initial. There couldn't possibly be
No.
anybody else in my life who has a name that starts with J.
No, there's no one.
There's nobody.
There's not one person. It's only me.
She's the apple of my eye.
I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend.
Please.
Yeah. Drink your water. And take care of yourself.
Please.
Life's hard.
It really is, and it can be really unforgiving sometimes, but we're still here. We still have to find something to smile about.
Exactly.
You have to eat cake.
Yeah, eat cake. Have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah. Even if the possession is for a little bit, you still had cake and you still ate it too. So
Exactly. You have your cake and you're eating it and it's really good. So don't even worry about it.
exactly. All right, you guys. Well, we will see you guys next week. And please drop us a comment about anything that we said in this video. Yes, subscribe. Yes, of course. And then even if you want to be notified of our videos when they're posted or our shorts, you can also ring that notification bell.
Yum.
And other than that, goodbye.
I don't know if I got that in you today. Let's see. I blacked out a little bit. I'm still thinking about.
It's
I'm still thinking about the cake.
Let's just
I gotta
crash
go.
out. Okay, we're going. Okay, bye guys. Bye.